Yeah.
Hello, people in Brazil, United States, and Europe. This is Ellie Bodah with the podcast Chat Among the Educators. We are celebrate 15 years of this international publication, which comes out biannual. But I have a lot of people listening to our podcast and asking me to talk about agriculture, agribusiness, and in English, so the audience can rejoice to hear important professionals in this area. And here I'm very happy to receive faculty lead Dâmaris from Passo Fundo, Brazil. So, how are you today, Dâmaris?
Hi, Ellie. I'm good. I'm good. We have a nice weather here, opposite from US, right? Because now we're in summertime. But yeah, we're
Enjoying the weather.
uh,
So I asked Demaris to talk in English today just because, the outreach, but we really appreciate all of you. And if you can't follow the interview, we're going to put captions later. So maybe Demaris will come for another podcast with us. So I'll ask you first to introduce yourself for people listening to you. Tell me a little bit about who you are, education, and so on.
okay. So I'm Damaris. I am actually a city girl. So I was born in a big city here in Brazil, in the south of Brazil. But when I was really young, I went to United States and I actually learned how to write and read first in English and then in Portuguese. So I have there's a really important part of my heart that is a little bit American. So I really enjoy speaking in English too. But I am in agriculture, so I'm an agronomist. Here in Brazil, we have technical schools that we do during our high school. So I'm technical. I have technical education in agriculture, and then I am an agronomist, and also have my master's in agronomy, and then my PhD in agronomy as well. So I'm not from agriculture, but I have chosen agriculture several times in my life. So. I love the profession. I love the area. So I'm very glad to continue in agriculture and now in education in agriculture from the other side, right? So now I am a professor and I coordinate, I'm the faculty lead for the agronomy course in Atitus Education, which is a university in the south of Brazil. So in Rio Grande do Sul and Passo Fundo. So now we have the undergraduate program in agronomy, and uh, we are in the seventh semester, so we have students. We have several students now, and we soon will have our first graduation. So
Oh, great. I'm a city girl too. I grew up in Passo Fundo and busy life. And later on, after a year or so in biology, I started looking more at plants and I got my PhD here in the US. I have two questions already. So, you were here early life in the United States. Which state and were your parents working at that time?
yeah, I have a very adventurous parents, a very adventurous family in general. But we went to Florida. And so the whole family went to Florida when I was 6 years old, and my parents are both Brazilian, and my mom is a biologist. My dad is a pastor, and we went to United States because my parents understood that it was important for my sister and I for us to learn another language and live another culture. And so we were there for almost 3 years. And then my sister and I went to school, and so that was my initiation in the US. While my parents, while we were there, my dad worked um, in a natural food institute. And so we have my connection with nature through my mom, that is a biologist, and through with food through my dad. And before going to United States, actually, they had a natural food restaurant in Brazil. And so the connection with food and biology, despite being a city girl, is a little bit connected in that area.
Oh, beautiful. And when, at what point did you choose agriculture the first time?
Yeah, so when my sister and I got to high school, my parents that already had chosen in their time to do this technical school, they understood that it was important to have this professional skills starting developed before college. So my sister and I, we had the option of what we were going to do, but a technical school was probably where we were going. So then I had to choose. So thinking about the things that I liked and the areas that were close to my heart, I chose the technical school in agriculture. And since the first semester, I already knew that um, I wanted to do something related to that. So agronomy was my first choice at the time. In the selection process, we had to choose the first and second option, of course. And my first option was agronomy. My second option was agronomy as well because I didn't want
You
to do
really
anything else.
wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah. So I had also the same thing in Brazil. We have this big selection process, and you do have to put two options. My first was biology and then agronomy. So agronomy really grew into me in the United States when I came do a project with biology, and then I transitioned fully to plants. What a beautiful story you have. And then what about your PhD? Tell me a little bit about your PhD, your research, the challenge of being an international student.
Okay. So I went to United States, then to Kansas. So I was a PhD student in Kansas State University. And I got married when I was in the last year of my undergraduate course in Brazil, and we went for an internship in Kansas. And because of these connections during my last year, my husband did part of his master's at that time and then went back for part of his PhD. And when I went with him, I got to know the person who would be my advisor for the PhD. So he invited me to stay and to do my PhD um, after we went back to Brazil. And then we came back to Kansas, and then I started this path in research in soybeans and wheat. So my program was in cropping systems. So the objective was double crop soybean. So we would plant soybean after wheat harvest. So wheat harvest in Brazil, it's a little bit different. So that's really common to do here because we don't have such a harsh winter.
Hmm.
So we have soybeans, and then we have winter wheat. And then we can go back to soybeans uh, as soon as we harvest wheat. But in United States or in Kansas and in the majority of the region that in which soybean and wheat is planted, the time is the time is shorter for you to harvest and plant. So when you harvest wheat, you harvest later than the ideal time for planting soybean. So because you're doing double crop, a lot of what we know from the management and management practices, everything changes a little bit because you're 1 month at least late. So my research was on different management practices and what would be affected by these late plantings and because due to wheat. And then how did wheat affect the soybean production productivity?
Oh, nice. I work with the green soybean edamame, and we also do follow wheat in sometimes. So, what did you find on your research? Did you find an ideal timing? What's the recommendation for growers that might be listening to us?
Yeah, so the timing actually planting soybean after wheat will be always a challenge. But the thing is, if you can harvest wheat earlier, and that will depend on planting earlier and everything, you will get better soybean production. But when you have double crop, you actually are harvesting a little bit less soybean, maybe because you're not planting in the ideal time, but you economically, it's better than planting only wheat. Usually, farmers that do double crop soybean, they're actually more focused on wheat, and then soybean is like the the second crop. So they're not willing to move wheat around much.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Same
The
here,
one
same
that
in
is
the
moved,
Washington State. Yeah.
yeah, the one that is moved is soybean, which is fine. But the the in my research, we found that when you have a bigger harvest, because there we did a review and systematic review, double crop soybeans after wheat, and then we saw that when you have higher yield in wheat, you get lower productivity in soybeans. So it's
Hmm.
not only related with the time that you plant soybean, but with the previous wheat yield. So if you harvest more wheat, you will harvest a little bit less soybean. And then there's a lot of possibilities in that, hypothesis and why that happens, but maybe because of uh, the the amount of residue from the previous crop, from wheat in this case, when it's because it has a lot of how do you say that? More, well, we have more residue when you produce more, and then you're using more nutrients from the soil. And so there's a lot of possibilities of why that happens. But more or less that's what we found. And then we looked into quality and grain and with different management practices, but then there wasn't much difference caused by wheat. So
Very interesting. So this crop rotation is always defended because, you give a yield boost to the following crop, which is the main crop is wheat. So it's a benefit for if you're thinking about wheat, but this yield drag, I'm not familiar. So very interesting research. Other benefits of rotating the crops, we are talking about, with a legume that will pump nitrogen into the soil with the rhizobia, but we're also talking about the green bridge. I don't know if you had any study on that regard about the disease that follow from one to the next that would use the debris or the residue.
during the years that we studied, we didn't have much disease pressure, so we didn't see any difference between between the different timings, the plant timings, because we had good years, you
Oh,
know.
good. That's
So
important in
no,
agriculture.
yes, yes, that's important to be said. The years were not bad for diseases, and so we didn't find answers for that. And in the other way from soybean to wheat, then we actually we tried to do a study having corn after wheat. So but we didn't have much differences in that too. So at the end of the day, planting soybean after wheat is actually um, a good way to go, but it's important to know where you are and if that's possible in your calendar. So if you can, and it will always be a risk because if you're planting too late, you are you're maybe going into an early frost season, and then you're risking your soybean crop. But if you are able to harvest a little bit earlier your wheat, then you will have a very low risk in the harvest season for soybean, and it will be okay. You'll have two crops in one year. You'll have the rotation, the succession, right?
Mhm.
And then you have a legume and the grass, and so there's so many benefits from that. So if it's more like a cultural thing to move from doing one crop to doing two cash crops.
And this is very important. That's why we need agronomists. And they are here in the US, they are hard to find. The other thing also is the genetics of the variety you choose to grow. So you can always choose an early variety because soybean is also responsive to photoperiod sensitive. So there's a lot that goes into it. But today I brought Damaris here to talk a little bit about teaching as well. So she learned this great research in the US and Brazil, and then now she's raising the next generation of agronomists. So how is the teaching experience for you?
Yeah, so students today aren't the same students that I was when I when I was a student. So students change because the world changes, right? And so we have to um, learn how they learn. So we have a lot of technology, and we have computers, we have them interacting digitally, and the I think the biggest challenge is to understand them. So when you get them, it's such a nice experience because when you get through to them, they'll pay attention, and if you show passion and if you show them that it's important to them, because that's I think the key.
So
Explain to them
you need to
why.
know your student, right?
Yeah,
Personally.
why do you need to know what I'm teaching you? And then from that point, you see um, them following the classes in a different way. So and when they understand that what they're doing there is really important, and so in our in our education in Atitus, it's a little bit different because we have um, applied courses. So we don't start in the basic courses, like we don't have physics and biology and chemistry all over again. We have those inside the really agricultural courses, which is a little bit different from other courses in Brazil. So it's easier for you to show the students that that basic stuff that they're learning is actually applied to what they will need in agriculture. And when you do that, they are interested even in the basic part of the education.
That's a great point. My mom was a physics professor, and she always talking about the siphon tube and the water. And I'm sitting there and thinking, when in the world am I gonna ever need this? And turns out that I do need it. When I go to the
Yeah,
fields, I look at the siphon and I can't get the water through, and then I wonder, that made sense. We
yeah,
had a point over there.
yeah.
Great. And you also care about your students so much because when we were visiting Brazil, we had a meeting and we talked about possible international trips with your students. Talk a little bit more about this project.
Okay, so my experience in US, it was so important for my development, and it changed the course of my professional life. So I because I understand that has such a great importance, and uh, it's so relevant for professional development. I really try to take more people to US, which is the closest to my knowledge, right? But to take them from the place they are, and to show them a possibility of going to another country. And so we have an international program in our agribusiness school, and it is for vet med and agronomy students. And we have the first action that we're doing is in agriculture mission to US. So we're gonna go to the Farm Progress Show in August of this year, and then we're going to some industries and some farms, also to the University of Illinois. So we have and then a little bit of tourism, a little bit of knowing Chicago also. So it's a very complete mission, and just for people to open their minds to going abroad, and learning more about agriculture beyond what they know. And so this is this first connection that we're trying to make with for our students with this international mission. And then after that, have students going for internships. We have in the last semester of our course, we have the internship semester. So we already have students that are interested in going abroad, going to US, going to Australia, going abroad. And so we have we have a lot of plans for and options for these students to go abroad and to learn another language, to learn about how other people live, how agriculture is done differently, and just uh, add knowledge differently from what they know here.
Oh, wow, what a beautiful experience for them and for us too. So perhaps I will take an intern in agronomy in the future. We are
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
keep talking. I work for a multinational, and also this is just a hobby, what the talks that we are doing to celebrate our 15 years of publications. There was a little bit more. So if they want to contact you, if there's somebody interested in agronomy or in your past research, what is the best way? Are you located in a campus?
Yeah. So here in Paso Fundo, there are two campuses. So there are actually three, but so the one in there's the main campus, and then there's the agribusiness campus, which is where I am located. So it's called Campus do Agronegócio, so agribusiness campus. And I'm always there. But you can also contact me through Instagram. It's going to be Dâmaris Hensel altogether, or also contact through LinkedIn. It's also a great opportunity to connect, right? LinkedIn is a good connection point there, and just let me know. We have the institution Instagram also, and we have links in the bio for this specific mission. So if interested, people can connect straight through there. But yeah, uh, don't
Do the
hesitate to contact any way, or contact Ellie, and then
Oh yeah, then I can do
my
the
contact
bridge.
also. So.
Um, do they need to be enrolled in either course, agronomy or vet med, or can be from other
No,
institutions or
yeah,
other?
yeah. It's open not just for students, but for people in agriculture. So it can be anyone that is interested in going in an international mission. So we have the mission is actually the purpose of the mission is networking and developing this international program. So it's actually in a really good cost because it's not the objective is to send people in a different experience. So it is for students, for um, people in agriculture companies, for farmers, for we have a family that's going all together. So it's five people from a family because they wanted to go to US and they're in agriculture and everybody has connection to agriculture, so they're going for a family trip. So it's open for everybody that is that wants to have an international experience in agriculture.
I
It's gonna
really
be really
like
good.
this approach. We have worked with the Imagine that now is Atitus Educação, and they send students from architecture, and we had a family too that came, and they learn and they present. So it's amazing. If you're listening to this podcast, I would encourage you to contact Dâmaris and to see more about this opportunity. Our podcast is limited time. I will ask you to give you a final message for people that are listening to you.
Okay, so I'm thank you, Ellie, for having me. It was a pleasure, and I would just say go after your dreams, and agriculture is for everybody, and it's there are so many areas and things to do in the in agronomy profession. So um feel free to contact me for any questions if you want just to talk agriculture or talk ag education, feel free. But it's a pleasure uh, to have influence in people that want to choose this path. So feel free and contact me too. And if you can connect internationally also. It's a huge difference in the lives of everybody that I know that have done this. And so even if you have 1 month, go for 1 month. If you have an year that you can take, do it because it's a life changer and so many doors open for people that have the courage, for people that learn the language, for people that know another culture, not only there with the place you're going, but also back home. So
Beautiful message. Follow your dreams. We do need more agronomists. So if you're listening to this in the US, it's a shortage of agronomists. And let's feed the world together, right? So it's a
let's
beautiful
be the world.
profession. Thank you
It
so
is.
much and see you in the next podcast.